So we're live and we're talking about events. This is the events channel, and it's basically let's talk about events. So depending on the theme, depending on the week, and this week I'm excited because we have a specific topic because we are doing a recap on a recent conference. For those who don't know me, my name is Tiffany English, founder of Velvet Style Event Marketing, helping people with their events in person that are using that as a marketing opportunity to build and grow their brand. I'm really excited to have my good friend and planner colleague, Corinne Thomas, and we are going to just chat it up for a few minutes and give our experience of our last conference that just happened recently. So Corinne, before we get started, can you formally introduce yourself and tell us what you do?
Okay, so I'm an entrepreneur, business owner. My business is Absolute Events by Corinne, and I have been growing that since almost 19 years now. So I plan and produce meetings and conferences and all that go along with that, mostly, so full service. Recently, though, I have been focused on sourcing. What that means is finding the ideal venue for businesses that need to host their meetings, conferences, retreats, sales, kickoffs, all of those kinds of things. And I also help small businesses to grow and thrive. I'm a business growth strategist as well. So I'm wearing two hats. But yes. We're not here, not for that, but we're here for all things meetings and events. And
we are.
I thought was great. So.
We are, but I love your take and your expertise. So, Corinne, we met, and it's so funny too, because I feel like I've known you longer, but we met, I believe, last year at a previous conference, and right. Since then, reconnected. Is it twice this year already? Oh my goodness. I'm seeing all kinds of you this year. Yeah. And I asked you, I said, hey, do you want to hop in and talk about a recap? Because I wanted someone to talk about and hear their experience of what they thought, this conferences in general, and then specifically this one, because it was an international based conference. But before we dig in about our perspective, I don't know about you, but a lot of times I'll post about I'm going to a conference or I'm going to, meet with planners. People are like, what does that mean? And so I know our conferences are different than typical, industry type conferences. We're not talking about legal conferences or accounting conferences, but for me, it's the purpose is, obviously connecting, networking, but building those connections to do business with. So what's your take on these specific conferences? And for people that don't know or that are not part of the industry, like how would you explain it?
So I would explain it this way. It is an opportunity to meet with, by and large, suppliers, vendors, and by that I mean hoteliers from all walks of life. So SMU, for example, and I'm going to just explain the acronym. It's actually Successful Meetings University. That was the conference. And there we were able to meet hoteliers and DMCs from around the globe. And for us, when our clients come to us to ask for a venue, we are typically, they come to us because we're the experts, and we're the experts because we build all kinds of relationships with these hoteliers and venues all over. I like to say that I have access to and relationships with hundreds of venues nationwide and in over 75 countries. And that is really true because we get to sit down and meet with those hoteliers, those venues at these types of events. So we're building relationships, we're networking with each other, and we are given a space to make sure that we are solidifying relationships so that when our clients ask for oh, I want to go to Portugal, we have a contact in Portugal that we can easily just call and say, here's what I've got. What can you tell me? Where's the best place to go? What kind of activities can we do there? All of that kind of stuff. So it is really, for us planners, it is extremely beneficial. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, I absolutely agree. And it's such a differentiator between, well, why can't I do it myself? You absolutely can. I always tell someone, I'm like, you want to plan an event? You want to plan an international event? You absolutely can. But the difference is the access, right? And the knowledge. Like you said, you're planning something in Portugal. Now you have the local context. And that, to me, it trumps going to Google and doing a search, And for me, it's important to meet face to face with, like you said, suppliers, hoteliers, DMOs. So now we have that relationship. And relationships are so crucial, at least on my end, because I'm getting the best possible deal and I'm able to pass it on to my client. Because best believe that they're going to give a deal over someone that they've talked to, known, got to know each other, as opposed to someone blindly emailing them,
Right.
So that relationship is crucial, especially in our business, right? And then having these events just really solidifies that access. But I want to dive right in. Let's dive right into SMU. So I can't remember if this is your first one, but this was my first one. So I had nothing to compare. Okay. Okay, good. So I had nothing to compare it to other than other, conferences that we've gone to. This one, like I mentioned, was specifically international. So let me hear your take. What were your thoughts as far as like from the start, day one? Because day one we had the reception, we kind of got in. What are your thoughts?
So day one was amazing. So day one for me started with a luncheon that was actually planned and produced by leading hotels of the world.
Correct.
And by the way, so leading hotels of the world, hoteliers and suppliers that they bring to us are kind of a little off of the beaten path. And what I mean by that is that they are not your typical brand name hotels. They are exquisite. Some of them are boutique hotels, but they are really 4 or 5 star exquisite hotels.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Most wouldn't necessarily know that they exist, except if they're in our world.
The great thing I like about leading hotels, and they're not the only ones that do this, but they're part of a group that they vet who they work with. Yes. So for me, it gives me great confidence to work with them because they've already done like the work for us. We know that they have a high caliber. So if you have a client that's saying, we want luxury, we want impeccable customer service. They've already done that. So like that group, leading hotels, their inventory of hotels are top notch.
Right, exactly. And so, and to your point, the fact that we don't have to do any vetting, that also makes our lives easier, which means that we can always give our clients more better. So that luncheon was wonderful. We got to see some really cool hotels in Lucerne, Switzerland, Madeira in Spain. Yeah. Which, by the way, I had not realized that it was so close to the coast of Africa.
Same.
Great temperature, or the climate really good all year round, and also Italy. We saw some properties from Italy also. So again, for us, getting exposure to these really makes the difference when we talk to our clients.
And Corinne, can I say something about that lunch, which I think they did a great job about, setting themselves above the competition, because they were the ones that sent a specific invite. And I was surprised to see you. I didn't even know you were going to be there. So imagine my surprise. But they sent a specific invite to planners before the conference. I don't know how many invites you got from others, but I think I got maybe 2. And I always say for suppliers, use this as an opportunity. I mean, we'll dive into like the conference itself, but you only have a few minutes to meet with each planner. So that lunch that went, I think, at least over a couple hours, we had dedicated time.
Yeah, we did have good amount of time to spend.
Right. And now we have those properties that we wouldn't have seen or wouldn't probably had time to talk about during the conference. Right. And now, I don't know about you, but I'm ready. They're on my radar,
For sure. In actual fact, one of the things that we want to add here is that there were over 100, definitely more than 150 suppliers.
Correct.
This conference. And each one of us met with 19 on the first day. It was just 19, right?
Okay, so I had a conversation with another planner yesterday. We were trying to get the numbers straight. He said 26. I think I said 20. I know it was over 20 on that first day. The first day of the conference. We're talking about not the day for the first day where we all come in for the reception, but the actual meeting day from morning. I mean, it was a whole day.
It is a marathon.
It was a whole day
with all of these suppliers for, I think it's about 15 minutes for each supplier.
Yeah.
It is
very. And then that includes the travel time, because that was another thing. Okay, so let's map out what this conference is. For me, I usually compare it to a speed networking or speed dating, where you're going to table and you're having these rapid conversations. But, painting the picture of this conference was similar to other conferences where you're in this large ballroom and the planners are moving around table to table. One of my things that always makes me nervous is, it's always me, right? I get an appointment on one side and then got to go immediately to the other side of the room. So yeah, I say that to say, you say 15 minutes, but including the time it takes you to maneuver from appointment to appointment.
But nevertheless, I always walk away from those meetings with something. And sometimes, occasionally I'll meet with someone who I met with before at another conference or something similar. We get to catch up and they can tell me more about what's happening in the destination, what's changed, what new hotel has opened, and all of those kinds of things. So just so you all know, we are really on our feet, running sometimes from one to the next. And I'm being serious about, I think the first day was about 20, maybe 19 or 20.
Yeah.
So, we have time they do give us time for break and lunch.
Yeah. That's important.
Outside of all of that, we're visiting with these suppliers. And I mean, we have amazing conversations, though they're only like maybe 10 or 15 minutes, depending on how far we have to walk from one to another. But they're good conversations. And there is nothing better than building these relationships and having the opportunity to build them. If you do not go to these and you are finding venues for your clients, I have to say you're missing out.
Agreed. I mean, I know it's only so much time you have, right? Because, we're going to these appointments, we're going to these conferences, there's travel time, and we still have to do the work that we do, right? So I understand where people are like, I have to get the time. What I think is important too is to look at these as opportunity to really hone in on your niche, because this one was specific to international, but then there's others that are specific to different destinations. Yeah. So, if you are doing international, for me, it was important to get more of the law of the land of where things are geographically, to know that I have local support, you know what I mean? So that, anytime that you're doing something out of the country and you don't have the teams that you're used to working with, it's good to find those people that that you're confident working with, that can deliver the same program as if you were doing here in the US. So I think that conference accomplished that. It brought out not only just suppliers, but knowledgeable suppliers, people that knew their destination inside and out. I'm telling you, they're very, very passionate about their destination and bringing meetings and events to it. So, yeah.
DMCs that we talk about. So what does that mean? Destination management companies. And they do what we do. So let's just call them event planners that also handle things like transportation, tours. They know a great deal about their destinations, and they're there to help us with planning and anything else that we need that we cannot do from here in the US, especially if we had to do something in Switzerland. You know, it's easier to get those things done knowing all the suppliers in that region or that destination. We are not armed with all of that. So having a partner to help us, with that kind of stuff is really important as well.
Absolutely. And that knowledge base, because you can't know everything about, every place that you go to. Let me ask you this, because you had mentioned that, sometimes you go to these conferences and it's to catch up. Did you find that you knew any suppliers from this beforehand? Because all of mine were new.
That's great. What I will say is the majority were new to me.
Yes.
But there were maybe about 3-4 suppliers, a handful that I knew before.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm always excited when I meet new suppliers and new, but also the other thing about seeing the people that you know already, it's almost a reminder they exist, and whatever you're looking for, especially if you're looking in a particular area, there they are. They're a great reminder that that's right. I have this person in my pocket or in my back pocket. I can call it anytime for this thing or that thing. What is that saying? Because sometimes, out of sight is out of mind.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So being able to reconnect with suppliers that you already know is a bit of a game changer. Because then you'll always remember them. You won't forget them.
Correct. And I always say this, you want to be top of mind because, a lot of us, myself included, are doing multiple programs. And sometimes I don't remember who I talked to last week. But but when you're top of mind, like you said, you're like, oh, yeah, I do remember. Oh, yeah, I think I might have something for you. So the ones that do show up, I appreciate because they are wanting to be top of mind. And even if we don't have something right away, it's still on our mind to do, even if it's, a month from now, a year from now. But I do appreciate them, being top of mind. Absolutely. So I'm curious on your take about, was there, I wanted to say something else about suppliers, because I think everybody was pretty much new to me in person, but there were people that I communicated over email. So it was really great to see an email to the face. I really appreciate some of the conversations of cities that I've been to. So it was great to see CVBs in areas that I didn't know.
Yeah.
The conversations I feel like they were very intentional.
Absolutely.
We weren't just talking about the weather. We were talking business, right?
Yeah.
We're very intentional. Does I'm curious on what your take, did anything stand out, or did anyone say anything that you didn't know that you're like, wow, that really stood out to me?
There's one thing that did stand out that I keep thinking about a lot, and it's Switzerland, because Lucerne or someplace that is not necessarily close to an airport, but they have trains that you can host a meeting. It may take an hour and a half or 2 hours to get from one place to another by train. But during that train ride, you can have a pre-meeting, you could have a reception. They have room for that to happen. They have these amazing trains that you can have board meetings on. That stood out to me because I did not know that. I didn't know that was a thing, and they have trains going everywhere that allow you to really be intentional in transit. So you don't have to.
That is impressive.
Yeah, you don't have.
That's news to me too, because I did not hear that. That's interesting. What I do like is there was a lot of creativity. So it was kind of there were a lot of painting pictures, and one thing about working with international destination is sometimes you have to debunk myths. I talked to Air New Zealand, and they said, I had concerns on travel time. People don't want to have to spend 2 weeks. Say we're doing an incentive trip, and
Right.
no one has 2 weeks to give up. And he says, oh no, no. It does not take 2 weeks. He's like, matter of fact, we can go build a whole itinerary. This is where you'll leave. And he just gave me the information. And I said, oh, wow, now that I know that, you can compete with other locations. So I found a lot of that. I found a lot of education. Yeah.
That is one of the things that's very interesting. Even with places that I've been to before that I didn't know about. So I'm from England, right? And I met with someone from Devon and Manchester. And both of these places, because I left there a long time ago, 20 years ago, and they were kind of introducing me really to these places, even though that's where I grew up. I was born and raised. So that for me was also really important. There was one specific place I remember in high school. I worked at a supermarket in that area. And when they showed me that particular area, I didn't recognize a single thing. So it was like learning about some place that I'd never been, although I grew up there. So that was kind of cool too. That
is. It's like bring things back, but it's different. Mm-hmm. Another thing that I appreciated as far as educating is, so this conference, I feel like did really great job with weaving in the themes. And, whoever was sponsoring our lunches and our breaks, right? Yeah. Fantastic job, because now I'm thinking like, okay, other conferences need to take heed to this, right? I mean, they basically had a captive audience every time we sat down to eat, and we were able to hear their presentation, whether it was, 20 minutes. I think Hong Kong was impressive to me, right?
Yeah. Didn't know that much about Hong Kong, no.
Really great. Hong Kong was one of the sponsors. Oh, and by the way, this SMU is organized and hosted by North Star Meetings Group. So they do a ton of conferences as well as
North
others.
Star Meetings. We love North Star Meetings. They do.
Shout out to North Star Meetings for keeping
an amazing job.
for still inviting me to their events, and I get approved. So yes, they did an amazing job. So shout out to North Star.
Marriott Marquis in New York City.
Marriott Marquis, as far as the hosted hotel, yes.
Their banquet department really showed up and showed out. They did an amazing job with the food and beverage.
Okay, well let's talk about that real quick, because not only was it the food for the event, but it was thematic, right? Because I'm still thinking about the empanadas from Colombia.
Yes.
And I just thought that was great. I missed out. I had to leave early. I had the early shuttle, but I missed out on the Korean barbecue. So I was kind of
good.
I was upset about that.
Very good. The dessert was you saw. Oh, did you taste
I ate it
before you left?
Yeah, I ate it. It was like a pudding. It was like a coffee pudding. So I don't know what it's called.
I'm a fan of coffee, so I was like, oh no.
Yeah. So that makes sense.
Delicious. I took the coffee.
And I made shout out to Colombia. I had some coffee today. It's delicious.
Oh, you did?
I did. I dug it right in. It was so I met with Medellin, which yes, I was so glad to see them. I had no idea they had a CVB. And see, that's another reason why you go to these things. So now you know. But I was in Colombia last year, and I inquired. I went downtown, and I didn't see the presence. So now that I know, I'm like, well, you're going to be hearing from me. Right. So they had Medellin there. So I had they had the coffee on the tables, and then also Pro Colombia. So their presentation to me, and this is my personal outtake, was very beneficial, because Colombia is still a country that is, they've had so much change and growth and development, but they're growing well. So it's great for them to connect with us as planners to share that this is an ideal location.
Yes. Very different the Colombia that you...
Absolutely. And that's their whole point. So it's nice for them and other suppliers that know to stay participating in events like this and staying, ears to the ground to hear from planners, because there's a lot of suppliers out there that don't show up for these events. And I feel like that's a missed opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But really great sponsorship, as far as weaved into the events. It didn't feel like they were, hard selling us. They were just sharing their passion. And we,
Yeah, it was wonderful.
We had our guest speakers. I think the content.
Michael Green.
The conversations were great.
Green was.
Yes.
Now I'm going to start looking for him on CNBC. Is it
same?
CNBC, right? He's on CNBC.
Well, it's a radio show. Yeah, I'll have to look that up too.
Yeah.
It kept us entertained. It kept our attention. It was some great talking points around, just travel. And that's another thing too. A lot of these events, especially in this climate, you have to be knowledgeable about, what's going on, economics, politics, because, having conversations with people that are doing government events and how that's affecting things and, just different political decisions. So that's another reason why these conferences are a place to have those topics of discussion.
Yeah. And understand how it's impacting the meetings and events industry.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And even if it's not directly for you, it's that impact is coming, from somewhere. So it's like, okay, maybe I don't know the impact of, what's happening here in Europe, but it's going to trickle down. So the knowledge has to be there. We have to understand where it's coming from. The cost of goods are going up, the cost of travel, the type of travel. Oh, it's so funny too. The our guest speaker talking about those destination fees.
The resort fees, yeah.
Well, okay, I call them destination fees because hello, you're not a resort. Why are you calling it a resort fee? So unless you're in a resort location.
That is a whole other topic that could last an hour or more. That is anyway.
But what I do feel that he, had a good point, and to understand again, working with planners, because something like that needs to be negotiated. So, the difference between you going out and securing your own contract and working with a planner, knowing that we can negotiate those destination fees or resort fees, whatever you want to call them, if they want the business. So that's another thing to just be, cognizant on the knowledge that planners bring to your event, and the cost saving that happens too, the benefit. You're saving a lot of money. People think it's an added expense to hire, but
they're going to cost to not get it right.
Thank you. That part. Yeah. I mean, but that's definitely, we can have a different conversation about that. But anything else that stood up with the conference? We were there for, was it 2 days? Well, maybe 2.5 days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I just enjoyed the entire experience. Meeting all these suppliers, getting the opportunity to sample a destination's cuisine. Because I think that, and obviously it's not someplace I've gone, but the empanadas, like you talked about, the Korean food, from Hong Kong, they had, because they were sponsored, I forgot what their meal was, but I have to say that all of the meal at the Marriott, they knocked it out of the park. It was really good. And shout out to the Marriott for having lots of blueberries in the morning. Blueberries.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything. I'm like, who eats just a whole bowl of blueberries?
Oh, I eat a lot of blueberries. Blueberries are nutrient dense. They are highly, highly, highly nutritious.
Oh, no doubt. I agree.
Who has, I could eat.
I just thought it was just odd because it was all blueberries. I'm used to seeing them mixed with other fruit, but no, you had a whole bowl of blueberries.
I could eat bowls and bowls.
I do appreciate they had a variety of fruits. And
it's great all day, even during the breaks.
Oh, they had very great snacks. How some conferences they'll have chips or cookies. These were fulfilling.
Yeah, they were intentionally healthy.
They were. I love it. So back to the Marriott Marquis. which for me, I appreciate it being right in the center of the action. I've never stayed in Times Square, and I thought it was just such a cool experience. That hotel does a ton of business, ton of conferences. But yeah, so how did you feel about, the Marriott Marquis?
I will say I've been to the Marriott Marquis several times, lots of times. But I have to say, I think this is the first time I've ever actually stayed at the Marriott Marquis.
Okay.
And it was actually quite pleasant. I mean, I don't have any complaints at all. It was good.
I feel like if that's the location you want to be, if you're going to see a Broadway show, I mean, because the place was packed, people were going to shows. One thing I will say is I stumbled upon the rotating bar just in conversation, and we went up there. I would have appreciated them and I think they said some people knew about it and some people didn't, but I would have loved to have maybe a formal tour or a mention of their meeting spaces there. Because I think I grabbed you. I said, "Hey, you're gonna," and let's go. I'm so glad we did. Mm-hmm. So, just to let people know, there is some great spaces for entertaining. And because I do a lot of client events and receptions, it was on my mind to see what spaces made sense for any type of pre or post conference reception. They have a ton of space. You met with one of the sales managers was one of my appointments, and he says, go up to the 48th floor. There's a lounge and there's a restaurant. So we went to the lounge, and I thought it was the coolest thing that it rotates slowly, right?
Yeah, the whole floor rotates. And to give perspective, so as you're sitting, the room it's not spinning, just revolving. The spinning makes you think it's really going fast. It takes about 45 minutes for each rotation. So you are able to see different views of the city because you're moving. And it's pretty cool. Most people I totally forgot about that, actually. I remember attending an event for, shout out to Preston Bailey. When he launched his first book, he actually did his book launch.
Okay.
In that space. And what's her name? The woman who sings, I forgot her name. She was performing I Who Have Nothing. Who is that?
I don't know. Okay, so someone was performing there.
Yeah, she's quite famous in her own right, actually. But anyway, yes. So it was nice to go up there and for us to sit and kind of enjoy that space for the time that we did.
I loved it. For someone like me, it just, it held my attention. I was like watching it and watching the scenery change. I thought it was cool. One thing I will say about that is that would have been such a great opportunity for a supplier to sponsor or host that and really hone in, because we had, it was just us. We had some really great conversations. So imagine if we would have been able to continue a conversation with someone, as a client event. So just keeping that in mind, if you are at the Marriott Marquis, and mind you, they had some really great large group spacing where you don't feel the need you have to, reserve something, but just maybe you're hosting a few people for some cocktails. But
yeah, it's hard to do that and stay within the confines of the program itself, because we were at City Winery. So, and that was supposed to go from 7 to 9, right?
Yes. Yes.
So it wouldn't be right for a supplier to then have a separate event.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's not talk about separate event, but you know how things are when you're like, hey, let's have some after lady. And I think it would be more of these are my clients, or even people that I already know. I definitely don't think you should poach people into because you can't. I mean, they're going to ask what's this event for, and if it's for the conference, it's going to be iffy. But a lot of times, and it's so funny too. Last year, some of my really great connection with suppliers is when we went downstairs to the hotel bar. Like it was just so simple. And they were like, drinks on me. So I just think that space right there, which has been such a kind of an awe moment to be like, hey, let's continue. Let's just chat. But yeah.
48th floor. Let's go.
Yeah, it was super cool. And so, New York itself, I think, lend a great backdrop to this conference. And from my understanding that it is always there, I know it will be there next year. And I just think that made the vibe even better just because, New York, the heart of it. And then it was good weather. So
nice. Oh my gosh. Nice. Those 3 days were nice days. And,
yes.
It was nice to be able to drive in to one of these conferences.
Right. Because you're semi-local. Tell us where you're from again.
I'm in New Jersey. So it's really easy. It was about an hour for me to get into the city. Coming home, however, took a lot longer because I guess people were trying to leave around the same time. So it took me a little longer to get out of the city, but I was home within an hour and a half.
Oh, look, you lucky you.
Yeah.
Me, not so much.
Airplane.
Right. Yeah. That's good. That's good. And I think that's the gist. Is there anything that we're missing specifically around the conference?
No, I think these are beneficial. I love that North Star does this. I like that they do IPEC, which is another conference that I think we both like very much. And that's IPEC, by the way. The acronym is for Independent Planners Education Conference.
Yes.
So they do a fine job. I love what they do.
So is that safe to say that? So do you think you'll be back to SMU?
I think so.
Okay.
As long as I'm doing this, yes.
Okay. And so I imagine you would recommend this to other planners who are considering it?
Recommend attending SMU. In actual fact, I think this was a banner year for them.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, this is the most. So there were 480 something people, and they haven't had this kind of attendance in a long while. But it was great. I would love to hear what their feedback, the survey was, because I thought it was great. And I think having as many suppliers was also wonderful, because even if you didn't get to sit down for 10 or 15 minutes with them, you got to meet them at the networking events, although it did seem like an awful lot of people.
It was a lot of people.
Able to meet people that you might not have otherwise. And it reminded me a little like IMAX, actually.
I was thinking that too. It was very reminiscent of IMAX with, a lot of international locations.
Right.
Very similar. I feel like we got a little bit more personalized attention and energy. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? Because I think, IMAX is great as a trade show, but, bumping into someone, from Switzerland and they just talk, the passion there. Everybody was just so excited to be there. And I feel like they were excited to get to know me. They were asking me, where am I from? And, have you been to our country before? So you must come. So I was just smiling from ear to ear because I felt great energy, like that people wanted to be there, that they weren't feeling like, oh my gosh, and not another conference. I feel like this was it. So,
it wasn't their first time, so
right.
See it as quite valuable, and they benefit from it for them to keep coming back year after year.
Sure.
Yeah,
I agree. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page. I definitely thought, I had my personal, thoughts on it, and I'm glad we both agree that it was a good use of time and a great tailored event.
My time.
Absolutely. Well, I hate to keep you. I just want to know if you have any parting thoughts or any
no, I think
words of wisdom.
No, that was it.
That's good. Okay.
Just stay in touch.
Absolutely. Yeah, and you gave a great
with your suppliers, because they're really to help you. They're there to get your business, but they're also there to make you give you the tools, arm you with the expertise so that your client benefits from that.
No, that's good. I like that. Well, Corinne, I'm going to make sure to have your info listed, but I'd like to ask you, how would people work with you? I mean, who are your target audience right now? Because I know you have 2 arms of business. So who are you trying to work with that we can connect you with?
So it's really, I like to say that mid-sized companies
Mm-hmm.
that don't have a meeting planning department, they may have some in-house planners, but they have more meetings than, well, they have a lot of meetings. And that planner is responsible for not just planning and producing those meetings and events, but they also have to find a venue. It's a lot. It can be quite overwhelming. So for these people, I can just be their partner in finding and negotiating with and finding their ideal venue. Because quite honestly, what I think happens with people looking for venues, if they're overwhelmed, they're just going to kind of grab the first thing that they find that has their date. May not be completely ideal for their program or for their attendees, but it works just because it works. But if you want to have something that's ideal, that really adds to the attendee experience and your own client experience, it really behooves you to get somebody who can help you find that ideal venue and who can do it far quicker than that planner who's trying to do it all. I'm actually looking to interview CVV.
Well, you know a lot, so you should have a lot. You should have your pick. Yeah.
But outside of that, small business owners who are maybe feeling a little stuck and want to grow their revenue, I have some frameworks and some strategies to help them do that.
That's great. That sounds good. Well, again, thank you. Thank you, Corinne, for agreeing to chat it up and talk about our experience. And I appreciate you. And until next time.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolutely.
Get on YouTube, y'all.
Absolutely. I'll tag your YouTube channel as well, because you're going to have some more video content coming soon.
I will. Perhaps you've inspired me. Maybe I'll do something live, just like this.
Might as well. Why not? Yep. Why not? All right, y'all. Well, until next time.